Thank you all very much. My name is Jim Touziant. I'm the CEO and founder of FinTech Studios. It is my pleasure to be here today. First, I want to thank Brad and Ben and the entire Symphony team for inviting us today to demonstrate FinTech Studios' amazing AI machine learning technology. Also, I'm happy to share the stage today with my colleagues from Sycomore Asset Management, Marie and Olivier, who will be joining us a little bit later on in the presentation. So without further ado, FinTech Studios is a New York-based FinTech startup. We've been a partner of Symphony for now 6 years. We've enjoyed that partnership. We're one of the most popular apps on Symphony with almost 8,000 users that have downloaded and used our app on Symphony, and that trend is growing. I think the goal today is to talk about how this technology in combination with Symphony solves real problems for content and data and collaboration and community on Symphony. So what I'm going to demonstrate is the capabilities that we're deploying at Sycomore Asset Management. Marie and Olivier will tell you a little bit more about Sycomore Asset Management in a bit. They're a French-based asset management buy-side firm, manages around $8 billion under management, very thematically focused, particularly around ESG, sustainability, and some of the other key areas today. So what we're going to demonstrate is FinTech Studios and how we built that collaboration inside of Sycomore. So it starts with the idea that inside of Symphony, with FinTech Studios, you can create what are called channels. And channels are really defining, sort of like Google on steroids, exactly what you care about as a set of topics. So in this case, it's going to be on thematic things that, again, Maria and Olivier will talk about. And it's defined through very simple interfaces where users can, like with Google, search for anything and pull up anything that might drive market activities and market events. But in this example, given limited time, we're going to focus on channels and how they've been deployed at Sycomore. So in this case, they've set up a channel specifically focusing on ESG around a group of companies that they have in their portfolio. So you define these channels by giving them a name. You can make channels public or private, so you can share it with your colleagues. So the idea is you can actually share this intelligence even with your counterparties or clients. So in this case, they have a fund. It's tracking a bunch of public companies around the world. Because we tag and ingest information using AI, machine learning, and NLP, and we ingest from millions of sources globally in real time in 49 languages, we apply a taxonomy, effectively a way to structure and organize this data, and a knowledge graph to really look at how this data relates and connects to other data. So in this example, because we can do it intelligently with literally billions of AI workers, we can determine how relevant or not relevant a particular news story or blog or corporate filing or regulatory action or any major market event in any language based on that relevancy. So in this example channel, a set of companies that they're tracking that they want highly relevant results around. This could also be private companies. It could be any asset class. It could be any topic. This happens to be a fund. When you set up these channels, you can also apply their filters to them. So since they're very thematic, they wanted to apply, in our taxonomy, we have thousands of tags like ESG or climate change or renewable energy or any of these sort of typical tags, or because we index all of the words and phrases, you can actually look for very specific things like green bonds or some topic that might be of interest. So you're going to see they're very focused on social and governance. So this idea of freedom of expression as a topic or business ethics as a topic. But you can also apply other filters, in this case a workflow, whereas a research analyst identifies some story or market event affecting a portfolio or potentially a new area of investment opportunity. They can then create a workflow to route that story, that information on Symphony or to other people in the organization, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But you can also filter out stuff. In this case, I've decided for this demo to filter out Twitter and social media and blogs. Of all of the millions of sources, some people may care about this, some people may not. So when I then look at the results of this channel, it's magical. In essence, I've just sifted through millions of documents we've ingested just today alone, and 1.5 billion documents, to find exactly the stories that are relevant. Stories from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, corporations, bloggers, industry publications. When we identify these stories, like the CO2 story, we tag all of the companies or the people or the topics that that story is associated with. So in this example, carbon emissions and ESG and environmental crimes were all examples of that. I can start to define workflows in the application where I can say this story, it's relevant it really needs to be reviewed by an analyst. And this story about Qualcomm, which is actually in the fund, might actually need to be reviewed by a portfolio manager. And this story, which is talking about a capital raise around carbon emissions, might be something that we actually want to share in a Symphony bot. And so this idea that I can now set up these channels, monitor them, set up workflows, filter down through them, billions of stories down to millions, down to the 3 that really matter to you and the things you're trying to drive in terms of a collaboration or a trade or an execution. So because of all of the metadata, we know which issuing agencies this information may have come from. We know the companies that this information in this channel was most relevant to. So if you just wanted to focus on just the stories, for example, around MasterCard, or any topic or person or sector or source, you can sift through these billions of things to find exactly the needle in the haystack, but also you can do it across languages. So if you noticed, I now have 90 stories that are relevant for what I'm interested in my portfolio, but this story is not in English. So by clicking on a translation button, you can translate from any language, in fact, 49 different languages, into any other language. Think of the magic of market intelligence and regulatory intelligence and trade intelligence when you can do it across language boundaries. And this ability is that I can share this content. So for example, let's say I was focused on MasterCard, and I really thought this story from ESG Today was highly relevant. So I can look at similar stories. I can look at what are called cluster patterns. I can also look at a dashboard view of all of this, but I can also share information inside of Symphony. I'm going to show you that in just a bit. But the other thing is, because we've empowered this inside of Symphony with all of this metadata, all of this tags, the data is the key, because now you can start to visualize that. You can start to analyze. So in this case, I'm looking at their entire portfolio, looking at media coverage. These are called widgets. So these can be embedded in applications and workflows. So you can see peaks and valleys in data. I can start to surface intelligence very easily by just pointing and shooting to something that's relevant to me, to finding the stories that are going to affect me so that I can share it with my portfolio managers, my analysts. I can see if something's affecting the stock price, and so forth. So these widgets are all very powerful and allow me to look at data over different time intervals, allow me to look at, for example, what were the top companies that were being co-mentioned in this stream of content around ESG topics, allow me to drill into any of these with any degree of importance. So if I wanted to find just the stories about MasterCard that related to my filter parameters, I can start to do that regardless of language. I can also start to share this information. So for example, if I wanted to share this information about the Emirates in terms of a MasterCard coalition, I can do that easily within Symphony. And so when I share this story inside of Symphony, it brings up a Symphony abilities to interoperate. So if I wanted to share this, for example, with a chat room set up by Marie and Olivier called Sustainable Technology, it's very easy for me to do that. And if you notice, when you're sharing a story or a dashboard element inside of Symphony, we also apply all the metadata tags, which allows you to discover it or apply it to other workflows very easily. So in this case, I'm sending this to that chat room. And if you notice at the top, because of the power of Symphony 2.0, and this is the Capital Markets Edition, you can have what are called multiple workspaces at the top. So in one workspace, Olivier and Marie and others inside of Sycomore, which are 30 people, the asset managers, the portfolio managers, the research analysts, the traders. So in essence, they're able to set up their own channels and dashboards. So in this example, we actually have multiple channels and dashboards that are relevant to Sycomore. We're going to talk through a few of them today, and then we're going to get some commentary very shortly. So instead of an ESG focus, this particular one, which we'll talk about, is a portfolio that Olivier had set up focusing on sustainable technology. And so if you notice in this workspace, we have a Sycomore branded version of FinTech Studios on the left, monitoring all of the things in that portfolio. If you notice, it's updating in real time, so anything that's changed is very easy to identify. All of the dashboard analytics we saw on the other workspace are available in here. So in this case, Olivier is able to monitor his sustainable tech platform, look at what's trending, look at what's hot, look at some of the key word clouds that are surfacing, look at some of the trending stories, but he can also start to use this to communicate to his colleagues. So if I go back to that example, if you noticed, that Emirates story that I had shared earlier is now sitting here over in the right. If you notice, every one of those tags, like payment cards or Middle East, I can start to follow inside of Symphony. This is really powerful. This now gives you a tagging scheme where everything can be consistently applied to one nomenclature. I could even find things about that. Not only am I following it now, including I'll get signals from Symphony anytime something is published, but now I can go back and look for all of the stories, all the articles, all the rules, all the press releases, all the M&A discussions that are relevant. And I can do that in a second, in the blink of an eye. And if you notice, all of these stories, which I'm now following payment cards in Symphony, are all relevant to payment cards. And so this ability to now start to surface things that are relevant and find it and analyze it becomes very powerful. Even as I look inside of Symphony, if I want to explore things that I'm already focused on. So again, it might be a company like Amazon. So because we tag all of the public companies and private companies, it's very easy now to start to see deal flow and information flow around companies. And it's also very easy to start to drive conversations, where if I click on a topic, a company, a person, a topic, a region, a sector, it will go and find all of the information that's relevant to that and explore that information in real time. So in essence, now I'm looking at Microsoft. And why is that important? Because again, if I'm focused on what do I want to invest in, how is it performing, how do I find value inside of Symphony? So again, well, I do understand, thank you. That was my watch talking to me. So why is that important? Because we really understand relationships. Because we've turned this massive megasphere of the internet from millions of sources and now made sense of it, now you can start to see how things relate to other things. And I think when Gary was talking about the abilities to identify who you're connected with and also what you're connected about, think about this abilities where I can now surface in on investments I'm interested in, see how it relates to other things I'm interested in. In this case, all the stories globally around Qualcomm on a certain day and all of the other companies and people and topics that are most being connected, in this case like a pharmaceutical company like Moderna. So I'm going to turn it over to the folks at Sycomore Asset Management in just a second, but I just want to sort of further elaborate before we finish that the way they've set this up is they've set up a whole set of channels of which they'll talk about some of that experience and how they're using it inside of Sycomore. And some of those topics I'll just highlight very briefly before we turn it over to Marie and Olivier. So one is they have a focus around French companies, a fund they've created called French Cap. They have another one around European equities, another one around the education movement and inclusive jobs. So all of these are easily accessible inside of the application inside of Symphony. So in this case, I'm now tracking a different fund and all of the updates associated with it and all of the analytics. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Marie and Olivier, and they can give you a little bit more details about how they're deploying Symphony inside of Sycomore, and importantly, how we're partnering with FinTech studios. So Marie, I'll turn it over to you.
Actually, I will be speaking.
Oh, thank you, Olivier.
Yeah, hello, Jim. Yeah, indeed, we are building different workspaces to better connect the department of the team, of the company, and facilitate the communication between them. Because this is an issue in an asset management company, the way we communicate between the team. So as an example, we built a market workspace where the portfolio managers can communicate with the trader. And in this workspace, you have different chat rooms where every participant can share a company-specific news, market news, or whatever. And also, more importantly, each portfolio manager has its own execution chat room where it can communicate with the trading team here at Sycomore. On top of that, we have developed several bots to answer the needs of the portfolio managers. So to give you some examples, there is an execution bot which automatically sends a message to the PM when the trade is passed with all the information that are required, like the price, the broker, etc. The portfolio manager can also use some different commands to access specific information, like check whether the trade is passed, check the position in its portfolios, check whether other funds here at Sycomore own specific companies. But one of the features that we are the most proud of is the ability for a PM to roll a future at the end of the month by simply sending a message to the bot from within the chat room. You just have to send a message, and since the bot is connected with the order management system that we have at Sycomore, the order is automatically sent to the trading desk. So that was for the market workspace, and we have developed another one, which is the risk management workspace, that is automatically fed by bots. And the bot is connected to the valuation model, to the portfolio management system and the order management system. And the bot automatically sends the message to the portfolio manager when some situation occurs, like when the target price on stock in the portfolio is reached, or when a specific company that he was interested in has fallen below a certain entry level that he thought it might be interesting to reinvestigate the case at this point. And again, if some ratios at the portfolio level are reached, like the percentage of tech companies in the fund, like a certain amount of cash is reached in the portfolio, again, a signal and a message is sent to the portfolio manager to alert him. And now, Mary, do you want to go over how we are leveraging FinTech Studios and Symphony together?
Yeah, thank you, Olivier. Thank you so much for having me. So I am an ESG analyst at Sycomore, so my work is to analyze the impact on the environment and society of companies we invest in, with a focus on the tech sector. So this is why we developed the fund workspace that Jim just showed you on screen. And so here, the aim is to have a centralization tool that includes ESG. Indeed, each portfolio manager has ESG thematics that are including and linked to the fund. For example, for education, it can be educational tech or training. For the tech fund I'm working on, it will be privacy, cybersecurity, responsible marketing, or AI ethics. So here, what we wanted was to have a market intelligence tool for each portfolio manager with ESG-specific thematics. Here we have news in all languages, and we are able to track and identify specific news, our controversies or litigations. We can also have the sentiment of some online news, and then I am able to share them with my colleagues in the fund chat room. I also have an easily accessible dashboard for each fund I'm working on. For instance, if I work on 2 different funds, I can just access them with the sidebar on the left. Moreover, I can also access financials, key ratios, quotes, or analyst and earnings reports thanks to Apollo and FinTech data. Moreover, what we are also proud of is some Twitter feeds on each ESG thematics. So here, thanks to Apollo data, we are able to see how thematics are trading against each other. And we are looking at mobile average, and we are able to identify trending thematics. For instance, it can be a decrease in interest on business ethics and an increase in interest in AI ethics. And we can also see which stocks are exposed to this thematic, so this can also give us new investment ideas. Then I would just like to conclude on the further developments and bots we are willing to integrate in the future. So first, we are working on pushing news in our internal tool so that we can use FinTech and Apollo data into our evaluation models, for instance, for controversies. We are also willing to follow all the main hashtags and cash tags that are used at Sycomore so that we can know which company and topics are trading internally. And finally, we are also willing to include new tools as Streetlinks, Zoom, and we are also very excited about Klein9 for voice alerts on big news and voice tradings. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marie and Olivier. And thank you all so much, and really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Jim, Marie, Olivia, thank you so much. It is really incredible to see how tailored you can make your workflow on Symphony 2.0 using custom workspaces and dashboards. Now, 2 friendly reminders. Connect with our Innovate bot. That's one word, Innovate bot. And we're posting a lot on all of our social media channels. Our hashtag is Innovate2021. Now, to continue with the theme of custom workflows, I am happy to bring back our CPO, Mike Lynch, and Rachna Srivastava, Senior Director and Product Leader for our platform. They're going to take us through a streamlined way to connect with clients where they are. Mike, Rachna, are you ready to show us some amazing features in action?
Always ready.
Always.
Awesome.
Thanks, Annette. Hey, Rachna, how are you doing today?
Hey, good, Mike, great.
Good. Just a normal Tuesday?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, same here, same here. Thanks, everybody, for having me up again. And I do apologize. You will see a lot of me today. My mom is excited, but the rest of you probably not so much. And just one of the reasons why that is, obviously we have a lot of our colleagues who were critical to the development of these demos, to the event in general, that couldn't be here for whatever travel reasons, et cetera. So just from me to them, and all of them are watching remotely, digitally right now, a huge thank you for all the hard work that they've done to making this event come together and these demos come real and making Rachna and me look not too bad. So thank you, team. So with that, I joined Symphony fairly recently. Just a couple of months ago, part of a number of us here focusing on that volume 2 that we talked about. We're going far deeper into solving for market pain points, workflow problems that we see in the industry that we think we can solve with our unique combination of collaboration know-how, workflow focus, automation capabilities, and of course, wrapped in a blanket of trust and security that our customers know they have because of our end-to-end encryption. Now, I could poll this room and we could probably figure out hundreds of different problems that we should solve in the market, and there are no lack of them. For us, it's about pointing our resources and our time and our brains towards those key ones. And for us, one of the big ones is the use of non-compliant messaging. The use of WhatsApp, texting, WeChat. All of our customers have this problem. All of our customers talk to us about it, how they want to be able to meet their customers on the platforms that they prefer, but without any kind of retention solution, compliance solution, security solution, they're not able to do that and they can't deepen those relationships. The market that's probably most felt in is the private wealth space. This is a space where customers are getting younger. They don't use their phone. When they do check their email, it's because their crazy uncles forwarded them that latest joke that they don't want to read. And they just don't engage the way the market has historically. And they want to be able to text. They want to be able to engage with their relationship managers so that, as Brad said, they can deepen that human connection and do what humans do best, which is build relationships, provide advice, and go deeper on this. And for us, we want to be able to solve this problem and help them connect deeper. Now, this isn't a new problem for Symphony. We've been in this market for just over a year now. You may recall last year we did a joint press release with Deutsche Bank about their use of our WhatsApp Connect solution across a number of divisions at the firm. Just last month, we announced that HSBC is using our WeChat and WhatsApp Connect products to power their private wealth chat platform in Asia. And over the summer, we released SMS Connect, or standard texting for those of us in the US and North America, for enabling texting on your phone with that security and compliance capability. These solutions give our customers and the advisors within our customers the ability to connect securely and compliantly, but really importantly, obviously, is flexibly. So what I'm going to hand over to Rachna in just a moment, and what we're going to talk about is our WhatsApp Connect product again, but with some new capabilities and really exciting features that we haven't had before. A brand new platform connection with Zoom, so that you can actually see how you can escalate from from Symphony into a Zoom meeting, and then a new API capability that allows you to programmatically update messages without reposting that message, enabling you to create workflow within your Symphony chat product without cluttering with extra messages. But let me hand it over to Rachna. Again, Rachna also joined Symphony fairly recently, and she comes from Bank of America Merrill Lynch, where she was part of the key team driving their technology strategy within their wealth management space. So it's an area that Rachna finds near and dear to her heart.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited and looking forward to taking you through this demo today. So let's begin. And for the purposes of this demo, I'll be playing the role of a wealth advisor. And here is my Symphony desktop. And you can see on the bottom left of my screen that my new research signal has been triggered. And a signal is basically just a way for me to tag content so that I can easily find any relevant information later. Now here you can see that there is some new research that has been posted on inflation rates, and I need to use this for my client conversations to discuss impacts on any of their portfolios and their balances. And at the top of the room, we also see that there is a related campaign to book portfolio rebalance meetings with our clients. So now, because this message is using a technology that can be updated by bots, it will update live as we go through this demo, and my team books their meetings with their clients. And this is a really exciting feature, and as Mike mentioned earlier as well, we're really excited about this new capability, but because this can be used to update any kind of data to track real-time market workflows. So let's reach out to my customers, and the easiest way for me to do that is via a blast message. Now, a blast message is simply like a BCC message for chat, so it's really easy. And with a blast, I can send a single message to all of my contacts, and I can just reach them with one click. Now, Symphony makes this process really simple, as you can see, but because even though I'm in just one single application, which is Symphony, my clients can be reached where they prefer, right? And all of this is while meeting my compliance requirements. So, for example, a few of my clients will receive my message on WhatsApp, while the others can receive it on WeChat, and the rest can receive it via text. But we can do all of this via a single Symphony app, and that is so key and so important. You can also see here that I've included a voice clip disclaimer that we typically send to our clients before we share any new research. And I'm sure many of you know that this is a regulatory requirement in many markets. So this is just another example of how we're making lives easier for our clients with features that we provide. So now let's go ahead and see what this looks like for my client Chad. Chad prefers WhatsApp, and you can see that Chad has received my attachments, my message, and my voice clip. And when Chad replies in WhatsApp, it will appear on my Symphony screen. So looks like Chad wants to chat with us, and he wants to chat with us via the live Zoom meeting details. Once he gets this, he says that he is interested in actually meeting with us via Zoom. Let's send him some of our Zoom details, and then he can meet with us live. So I've initiated the Zoom meeting, and since, as you can see, I'm on stage, and my part of the demo is being run by my colleague Adil, who's right over here. You see him on screen with the lovely glasses. I love the look. Hey, Adil. And there we see Chad. I love the new yacht, Chad. That's great. One day, Mike, we too will have a yacht like that. So that really together,
oh,
maybe,
well,
or maybe our separate ones. Yeah, ideally separate, but I'll take a joint one as well.
Maybe it's a timeshare.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that'll do too. So as you guys can see, that was really clearly a very productive conversation. And because we offer such cool digital tools and technologies, Chad totally wants to book future meetings with us. So let's go back into the campaign room and update my team regarding this meeting. And as we talked about earlier, you can see that the message on top of the room has been updating, and looks like my team has been busy. So let's log in my own meeting request. I just simply need to just mention my bot, and when it comes up, I can type in Chad's name, select the meeting type, add in my comments, and when I click save, the meeting on the top of the room will update, and the confirmation details will be posted for visibility. So now let's recap. In this example, we've seen a firm that was using its custom campaign tracking bot to run this workflow. But we could easily run a similar workflow for a firm that uses any other platform, like Salesforce, for example. So Mike, what did you think of that demo?
I think it was great. I think when I become a private wealth customer, I'm excited to see it on the other side.
Yeah.
Great. But no, I think what's powerful to me here, and what we've obviously focused on trying to achieve, is that connectivity between internal team productivity with the ability to real-time track progress with our new API capabilities, but then seamlessly connecting that into the external workflow between an advisor and his or her customer. And because we have this extensible platform, we're able to do that. And Rachna could have stayed within Symphony to execute that whole part of her job. Now, we could add in Salesforce, we could add in other integrations we have, Jira, et cetera, which would have further enabled Symphony to be the core of her workflow. So, but just to recap sort of what we went through, we showed that Rachna could start that whole conversation via a blast message, reach her customers on multiple platforms just via her Symphony chat. We showed, obviously, our WhatsApp Connect product with support for attachments now, inline replies, as well as read receipts. And then we were obviously able to open up a Zoom meeting. Now, that Zoom meeting integration isn't specifically to WhatsApp. That exists in, if you're a Zoom customer with Symphony, any Symphony room, you could have that Zoom button and immediately start an ad hoc meeting with your team to resolve an issue, discuss a trade, whatever it might be. And the sort of the campaign bot message, you see it as a pinned message, something that's new also with Symphony 2.0 for those of you who have it, is able to then automatically update tracking that progress. And this especially, the use cases we're discussing with our team, with our customers are around new deal issuance, day-to-day workflow, real-time monitoring, news flow, et cetera, where you can now keep track of these kinds of updates, and of course, providing it and logging it all for compliance. So even though that bot message is updating for the user, providing a seamless experience, the compliance team is getting the full audit log of every event and every update, so they have what they need to be able to do their job. None of this is specific to private wealth. We've stitched it here together to just tell a private wealth story, but pieces and everything can be pushed towards really any market workflow that we see. And in the end, we're about making productive teams and engaged users. One little sort of hint at another component of this, for those of you, as Odette's been talking about, signed up for texting for the event, those texts are actually being powered by our Symphony Connect product. So you are seeing that from the customer side, being able to receive texts, and it's still being tracked and secured compliantly via the Symphony Connect product. So, Rachna, that's a lot, but obviously exciting. You're new to Symphony like I am. What's got you most excited in these first couple of months being part of the firm?
Yeah, Mike, I've been with Symphony for about 4 months now, and it's been a really exciting journey. Especially, all of the features that we saw in the demo, they really help solve a lot of the pain points that I've seen in the wealth management space, especially, recently around online client acquisition, retentions, the ever-growing competition from robo-advisors, as we know. And then, of course, this pressure on advisors to reach out and, give more and more personalized and insightful advice to their clients at scale. So we at Symphony are really committed and excited to be able to provide a digital, nimble, cloud-native, and open platform to our clients so that they can use these digital tools that we have on offer, and they can do their jobs easier, simpler, and at scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've talked about as well, and we are really excited about, is our upcoming session on Google and our collaboration with Google, and how this will kind of really enhance our platform even more and even further. And so, Mike, what do you think? I mean, how do you think our platform shapes up, and thoughts.
I think it's a key component of, all of our customers are on some leg of the digital transformation journey. And it's not just a revenue facing, how do we become more efficient, how do we service our customers, but it's also becoming more and more about employee retention.
Yep.
And ensuring that we are all giving our employees the best, most productive sets of tools. And when Gary was up here earlier talking about the 25 different systems he would use to book a trade,
Yeah.
how do you move from one, or maybe it's still a couple, but how do you connect that flow seamlessly across those products to ensure that an employee feels like their firm is providing them the tools that enable them to be fast and productive better than, and at that firm better than they can be anywhere else. So for us, it's the full story of where we go from here and moving that forward. Now, Rachna, in terms of your kind of first few months, one of the areas that you're focused on is data loss privacy.
Right.
It's a huge area, and you saw it here with the WhatsApp Connect product. This can be plugged into our data loss protection products so that you can connect this. Maybe talk a little bit about that and how that, again, that focus on security is at the core of anything we do, especially when we talk about inter-firm connectivity.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, we provide these interactions between our clients and customers, but our primary motive is to make sure that we provide them in a compliant and secure manner. And our data loss prevention, or DLP offering, is one such foray into that offering. And with that, we've enabled our customers to even have that solution integrated with any other solution that they might have on premise, and be able to integrate well and collaborate and make sure that any of the data that they have, either leaving externally or coming into their platforms or their ecosystem, is monitored. And there are rules that they can set, custom rules around how do they want to treat incoming or outgoing data, and they have full control and flexibility around that. So we are really excited, to kind of offer those suite of solutions as well, and and make sure that we can further our story on the compliance and security front.
Yeah, and I think data loss prevention, or DLP, is an exact example to a lot what you'll see really going forward with a lot of what Symphony strategy is all about. We are going to provide best-in-class native solutions that we feel fit our market and fit our customers' needs, but we're also going to integrate across platforms and enable workflows where our customers have other DLP providers they're working with to ensure that they have a consistent set of rules that apply to multiple channels. We will work with them, and we'll create an ecosystem of capabilities that, whether you need Symphony or you need us to connect out to enable what you need to do, that is very much in line with, with our philosophy and our approach from a technology point of view. So, to talk a little bit about the future and sort of, what we talked a little bit about here is live. But, where we go from here, you're going to see more platform integrations from us on this, sort of collaboration and connectivity point of view. So you'll get ready for that. And if you have specific use cases or workflows, obviously, please come talk to us. Interoperability. You saw us being able to interop with Symphony to Zoom to WhatsApp. Leveraging the FDC3 protocol that's driven out of the Finos organization, we're going to create interoperability across Symphony, across other platforms, whether they're order management systems, research systems, news platforms, et cetera. So, obviously, you'll see the panel talk about that later and be able to engage on that. And then, a huge theme is obviously helping all of our customers connect to one another more seamlessly. You heard us talk about that a little bit with Ali earlier, and being able to remove any of those friction points and being able to create that seamless, when that trust key is there and the two firms both turn it, how can we enable that connectivity and bring them together in the best place at the best time? So with that, Rachna, thank you for being up here with me. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
So joining me next, we showed you our Zoom integration, and what better way to talk more about our Zoom integration is to bring up Harry Mosley, the global CIO of Zoom. Harry and I are going to talk a little bit about the integration, a little bit about the markets, collaborations, workflow, and who knows, what else?
All
Harry,
right.
great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Nothing like being just in time.
Yeah, hey, that's perfect, perfect. Yeah, we have I was joking with the team, I think these are great, but it does look like I'm drinking half and half wherever I'm walking, which, if that's your thing, that's fine, but, you know.
This is a different boxed water. I guess it means, because from a packing perspective, this is very effective.
Better for the environment,
so
most
like,
importantly.
fits nicely in the box as opposed to having all these.
That's true. I didn't even less wasted space.
Yeah, well, they've tried to do square tomatoes. That didn't work very well.
Fair enough, fair enough. So I think, Harry, you were saying that this, I think, is your first sort of live event where you've been, on stage since COVID.
Yeah. Weird.
Welcome back to the lights.
Kind of weird being in front of like all these people, like physically. You're really there, right? I could come out and touch all of you, but I'm not going to. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, we've had a lot of conversations today about are we going back to handshakes? Are we fist bumping? Are we doing the polite nod? It's exciting to see that human connectivity.
I think all the above works.
Yeah, I think whatever.
I think it's like up to whatever your individual preference is, right?
Absolutely. So we just showed the audience our Zoom and Symphony integration, where we're connecting a user's workflow from Symphony, whether they're in a team chat, a one-on-one chat, say, hey, let's talk about this on video. Within a second or two, they can be up running on Zoom. Obviously, Zoom has been, interoperability is at the core of Zoom's broader strategy as well. Talk, what's your response to the Symphony Zoom collaboration integration, and how do you see this fitting into the broader Zoom strategy?
Well, first off, I think it's great to be here, and thanks for the opportunity. So that's one. Two is it's like interoperability has been sort of a core theme of Zoom as a platform since our founding 10 years ago. The integration with Symphony is a clear demonstration of that, because I think what we're all looking for, and have always all been looking for, is the notion of having a seamless, frictionless work environment. And so to be able to easily connect to a colleague across the hall, on a different floor, in a building, across the nation, across the world, at a moment's notice, take all that friction out of it. It's like when you think about sort of the introduction of the iPhone, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, it's 14 years ago, by the way. Yeah, so it's kind of astonishing, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah, we take it for granted. The notion of like, what's a phone number has sort of like gone right out the window. So to be able to easily, we know people, we still actually do know people, like first name, last name type stuff. Yeah. So to be able to easily connect with people is what it's all about. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And that's that's a theme that we've been talking about throughout the day. And I think it's a great point of that. We were talking earlier about the when someone sends you your two-factor authentication, never having to actually type it in anymore. And how does your phone enable these workflows? And how can we, for the financial markets, bring that kind of connectivity and bring that never having to remember anything you don't need to remember?
Yeah, I remember getting those PIN codes and this code and that code, and you got to go to this device and that. It's like it's great to get the friction out of the environment. Yeah. I was trying to schedule a flu shot on the way into the city today. It's like, oh my God! It's like and in the end I just sort of called my doctor, but I didn't know his number, right? And,
yeah, of course.
And said, Jacob, when can I come by the office and get a flu shot? So 2:00. Yeah. Boom, done.
Perfect.
That's the way life should be, right?
Yeah, no, I think these are all great. Now, your own career, you're obviously at Zoom today, but this financial market thing, this is, you know this space, this is actually where you've actually spent most of your career. Tell us a little bit more about your career journey, and sort of, I'd love to hear the, financial services to Zoom Harry story.
Yeah, so I spent like 35 years in financial services, UBS, Credit Suisse, Blackstone, and then moved into professional services, which was very similar in some regards from an investment banking perspective, obviously no trading and sales. And earlier in my career, I did a FinTech startup before all of that. And I actually, retired almost 4 years ago.
How's that going for you?
Yeah. I always remember being interviewed at Forbes, and so we did this, like, here's all the questions we're going to go through, boom, 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 and then we sort of do the fireside chat thing, and I'm getting introduced, and I'm announced as I had a big failure in my life, and I'm like, well, we never discussed this, what's that about? So it was like, failed at being retired. I got pulled out of retirement. Eric Yuan, terrific leader, great vision, great culture, great platform, technology differentiation between all the other collab systems out there, communication systems out there, and I thought, this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Didn't realize what a ride I was in for before, coming up to 4 years ago. It's truly been just a great experience in all sorts of ways. Learned a lot of new things from a leadership perspective and a management perspective. When I joined Zoom, we were 800 plus employees, and as of Q2, which was July 31st, we were north of 5,700. So it's quite fascinating to get on a call with internal colleagues, and like every time it's like there's new faces popping up. I think that should be a feature. It's kind of like I'm a newbie for like your first 30 days or something.
Custom background for
yeah, exactly. Well, we do have custom backgrounds. I'm finally a Zoomie type of thing.
Excellent. Now, and how have you, having spent 35 years in financial services, professional services, into Zoom, what's that been like in terms of how you've had to change, how you had to, interact and operate differently between the two worlds?
Yeah, so, clearly this was a startup world, and, I remember having a conversation with Eric probably about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now, and we were discussing, a problem. And we have a very simple philosophy at Zoom. It's called, sort of problem, root cause, solution. How many times in our lives have we gone from problem to solution without sort of really understanding the root cause? And so we were having a chat about this one day, literally, I shouldn't say chat, I should say we were having a conversation, verbal conversation. And we were talking about this problem, and he's like, well, why hasn't it been fixed? And it's like, well, I tried, and sort of my attitude is when things are out of my control, I'll sort of gently push on it and then back off. Because, you don't want to sort of create that, what's the word I'm looking for, that tension between sort of a peer and yourself, right? So I backed off, and he said, well, why did you back off? And I said, because I didn't want to create an enemy out of this colleague. And he said, well, why not? It's like it was the right thing to do. And I said, yeah. And then the subject came up, well, it was political.
Yeah.
And then Eric said something that has stuck with me, which is there are companies where you have a CEO, and there are companies where you have a CEO and a founder. And when there's a company that's being led by a CEO and founder, there are no politics. And Eric's perspective is like everybody at Zoom wakes up with one goal, one objective, move the company forward, do great things for our clients, do great things for our employees, do great things for our investors, and that's it. No one wakes up to deliberately do bad things.
Yeah.
And so I thought it's very refreshing to be working with someone like that.
Yeah.
After, because we all know, financial services is, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed the firms. I really enjoyed the people I work with. It was absolutely fantastic. And if I had, if I ever had an opportunity to go do a do-over, I wouldn't change that much, to be honest. It was fantastic.
No, absolutely.
But there's a lot of sort of lessons to be learned in working in a startup.
Sure, and for my own career, I've seen a little bit of all of that. Both the sort of pyramid founder culture as well as the consensus-driven culture. And I think what we're trying to drive at Symphony with my team and with many of the other teams is sort of this creative collaboration, but driven by a little bit of tension. Not everyone's going to have the same opinion all the time. There isn't often a clear right answer. So how do we ensure, and especially both remote and in person, how do we ensure that we're driving every voice is heard, that we're having these creative debates, we're having them transparently, and we're driving forward. And then when we come to sort of that approach, it's a handshake around the table, and then we all go, and sort of one team, one dream.
No, I think you're absolutely right. It's like there's never one right answer.
Yeah.
But it's important to have the discussion, and it's important to reach agreement, and then important that we all sort of join forces and go forward together as one.
Yeah. No, we had a conversation recently about a new strategy, and I actually reserved 20 minutes of the agenda just because I wanted to get everyone around the table to put the answer in their words, and just being able to sort of state the approach in your words makes you an owner of that.
Yeah.
And I think in this world of systems, directions, being able to own your voice and own that direction is so critical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Move forward.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to talk a lot about financial services today because, Symphony, that's what we do.
I know what you do, right? Yep.
Zoom's obviously a huge company, have gotten, amazing growth, and, you have your broader capabilities. You obviously service our end users. You service industries. How do you change what Zoom does for our sector, this sector, the financial markets, and how do you think about your product, your strategy in our space versus the broader market?
Yeah, so financial services, I'm sure I got many clients in this room here tonight. Well, not tonight, this afternoon, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah. It's been
There are people watching at night, so it's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, good. So many clients here, and so financial services is very critical to us, and it's a big industry that we focus on, not just investment banks, but you got private equity, you got hedge funds, and you got all the services that feed into that ecosystem, so to speak. So we've got our firewalls, we've got our firewall rules, we've got our security posture, we've got our integration for e-discovery products and things of that nature. So very focused on the financial services market. Yeah. And providing them with the necessary components, if you will, and features that are necessary in financial services. Yeah.
And how do you keep that as friction-free as possible? For me, and that's having spent my entire career in this market, it's the balance of enabling user connectivity, but providing that firm level control so that we can meet our regulatory requirements. Like, how does Zoom's philosophy tie into that balance?
Yeah, well, if we can't support the regulatory compliance of financial services, then we're not going to win in that business, and that's very important. One of the things that we've done is set up what we call a financial services industry council. So we have like a client advisory board, which is industry agnostic. So we got lots of different industries in there to give us feedback on features, give us guidance, help us prioritize. But then we established these industry councils to focus on financial services. We have one for EMEA, one for the Americas, where they're giving us features and helping us prioritize the capabilities that they need.
Yeah, no, I think that's we all listen to our customers, and how we balance all that is so important. Let's go back in time a little bit, 20 months or so. I don't know what happened, but the world changed, and obviously, for us at Symphony, I wasn't here, but was a customer at the time. The crazy growth that Symphony experienced in terms of our daily active users, in terms of our total message volume up, northwards of 150% of just in many cases, these users had Symphony, but we're now, some teams that hadn't engaged in the same way, we're now driving it deeply into our workflows. Other teams that were already engaged, we're going even deeper. Cloud9, at the same time, had a similar journey where all of a sudden a cloud-first solution to trader telephony was everyone needed that because your private wire doesn't move as easily, between different geographies. They actually experienced a 1,500% increase in internal, what's called intercoms on their system, just in the space of a couple months, as the market just, had to immediately evolve into a totally different way of working. And, you were obviously at the hub of that. You went from your 800-person organization to where you are now. And this was also a crazy time of human uncertainty and fear. Can you tell me just a little bit about what was it like at Zoom HQ, in that time, and what was, whatever you could tell us?
Yeah, sure. It was sitting here and thinking about that now, Michael, is kind of like, it just feels really profound, right? It's I feel like I've gone through this like time warp. In some case, it's like yesterday, it was 22 months ago, I guess. But it feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like another lifetime. Yeah. It's like, and we were, heads down, focused on supporting our clients. Nothing got in the way of supporting the clients. It's kind of like the whole sort of rule book was thrown out the window. The processes weren't followed because we just wanted to support our clients, literally around the world. And whatever it took, it was kind of crazy. You wake up in the morning and you'd have this like inbox of requests, external inbox of like requests. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? From church services to family events to we need another 25,000 licenses like now. And so it was a little hectic, a little hectic, yeah. But it was long days, long hours, weekends, and just a great team effort around the world. So, we went from 10 million daily meeting participants in December of 19 to over 300 million daily meeting participants in April. And so, that was just huge growth. And we maintained our service levels during that time. And I think that was quite honestly a testimony to the technology architecture and the differentiation of the Zoom platform to allow that sort of growth and maintain those service levels. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. We've had that same, Dietmar Fauser, who will be joining us on a panel later, came into CIO just before that. And, focusing on scale and stability at this crucial time, that's why you design things for 1,000x the volume. That's why you design these platforms to be able to support this for these kinds of moments where if you fall over, you don't have a business. And that's been what's most critical to all of us. And the winners have become the winners.
And, I don't know how many CIOs I speak to on a weekly basis or how many over the last 22 months, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, if cloud hadn't been here, I'm not sure how we would have got through the last 22 months, quite honestly.
Just a question.
So I think that's kind of like one, and then a lot of people say without Zoom, not sure how we'd have got through the last 22. I like that second one more than the first one.
Yeah, no, it's, if 5 years ago this happened, the same way it became this rapid evolution for a Zoom, some of these earlier cloud products would have potentially have experienced that first level of growth, but it would have been very different.
Yeah, it would have been. And I do think that sort of the world has changed forever.
Yeah.
And sort of the notion of, sort of when I think about the professional world or the personal world, I think that the professional world has sort of, we've gone to this pivot of virtual meetings, which are now, quote, sort of ingrained in our well-being. It's like it's part of the way we do business. Yeah. In fact, it is the way we do business. When I think about the number of countries I connected to just this morning, from the comfort of my home, without having to travel. It's just, and the speed that we can do business in. I was talking to a colleague in Israel, we were talking about investments and, the amount of investments that this VC has done in the course of the last 6 months without having to travel, versus what it would have been like in the pre-pandemic. And if the pandemic had lasted like weeks or a few months as originally predicted, then we would have flipped back. And I think that's one of the big worries that I hear from C-suite executives around the world is that everybody's now worried we're going to, sort of pivot back to the way things were. The processes have changed. Delegation of authority changed over the last 22 months. Yeah. Organizations have been able to go dramatically faster. Individuals, leaders have been able to make decisions that affect their area of the business without having to sort of like standardize across the entire, enterprise. Yeah, no, I think it's great. I often think about this. We obviously discuss a lot the changing way of working. I think they're all the statistics are out there about how the world was actually incredibly productive during COVID, and people got more done. If you count the tickets that were whether it's your Jira tickets or whatever it might be, people were actually providing because they were working longer, and there are all sorts of human questions and things to think about there. But for me, as we've come to this hybrid return to work world where some of us are in the office 3, 4, 5, 2 days a week, what I'm finding is even if the sort of empirical measures of production are lower, I think what's different is these ad hoc conversations that could be possible in a fully remote world. We can start to have them a little more easily now in these, hey, Harry, bumping to you on my way to this room, want to talk to you about this. And I think what that's evolving is we're going to maintain this hyper-productive capability, maybe at a reduced level, but the direction with which we'll be able to go is going to be clearer in the forward path. Whereas I think there's a lot of work done, and now it's sort of getting that sort of filter and sort of focus as we kind of move into this next phase of sort of human working. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. So with that sort of with the return to office, we are in this world of digital physical divide, and the digital world can move a lot faster than the physical one. How is Zoom thinking about that? Because I know you are, in terms of how do you enable that world where everyone can still have that, everyone calls it sort of this equality of voice of, just because there are 3 people in this room, 10 people in that room, and 7 fully remote,
how do you ensure that everyone feels empowered to speak, to be on video, to be on camera, and ensure that their voice is heard in a equal part?
So let's back up a notch. Like, what have we all experienced over the last 22 months? We've all experienced sort of everybody being in their own sort of tile on the screen, right? It's like, everybody's head is the same size. And so it really works very well for like everybody, right? It works for introverts, it works for extroverts. It's very inclusive. We have great ability to collaborate. And the challenge that we all now have is in this hybrid model, when you have some people in the office and some people not in the office, how do we maintain that inclusivity? How do we maintain that equality? How do we ensure I don't feel like I'm the second-class citizen because I'm at home and zooming into the meeting and everybody else is in the room? That's a huge problem. And so we've introduced what we call Smart Gallery. So what Smart Gallery does is leveraging artificial intelligence to identify not the people. I want to be clear, we're not identifying the person in the room, we're identifying that there are people in the room, and then we're streaming those people out as individuals to the remote participants. So for the remote participant, I can see people like I'm used to seeing it, and I can see that all our heads are equal, and so I feel like I got an equal space in the room, I got an equal voice in the room, and so very inclusive. And so we're super excited about that. We're getting massive adoption in the market, massive positive feedback on this. And then other things that we're doing are like the persistent whiteboarding, which is, I just started beta testing it yesterday, really very cool. So you can sort of whiteboard before the session, during the session, after the session, share it internally, externally, and then adding on to that, I'm not sure if I should call Facebook anymore, or should I call the metaverse now? I don't.
Meta, I think.
Is it Meta?
Meta.
Meta, okay.
So, but I think the Facebook's the product, Meta's the company. So I think you could still call the product Facebook.
Okay, well, we're partnering with Oculus.
Meta.
We're partnering with Oculus, so we're bringing in virtual reality into the Zoom product from a whiteboarding perspective, which is super exciting. A little, sort of off-putting, but once you understand how to use it, I think it'll be really cool. And then last point is doing language translation.
Yeah.
So again, because it's all going to be, the future is about inclusivity. The future is about ensuring, sort of equality of participation.
Yeah.
And making sure that it's, sort of exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's all super exciting. I think, to kind of go not the other direction, but both of our companies, though, still very much believe the phone is a real thing and a core part of our forward strategy. Obviously, with our acquisition of Cloud9, with the Zoom phone product and what you're doing that to expand.
I think the point is voice is the
voice. Fair enough.
Right.
Voice. That's a good clarification.
I was talking to a client yesterday. They're ripping out the phone.
Yeah,
people are coming back to the office, and he said, we've got the team going in, pulling out the physical phones before they get back to the office because they've lived now for 22 months without like a physical phone. So.
Yeah, exactly. Fair point.
But voice,
talking about voice is critical
yeah.
to how we continue to engage. And for us, it's, we're obviously going deep into that market voice space and being able to enable a trader to have their hyper real-time, always on sort of voice channels with their multiple dealers across the street. How do you see voice kind of playing into your forward strategy? And
voice is a huge part of our platform. I mean, it has been, sort of for the last 2.5 years. We introduced our Zoom phone product in January of 2019, and sort of 2.5 years into that, deployed to a couple of million seats around the world. So voice is very critical, and we get lots of positive feedback on that. And I think it was Andreessen who coined the phrase, so software is eating the world, right?
Yeah.
And so we're a software company, and we do voice and video and collab.
Yeah, the world of lines connecting users, it's all in the cloud now. We can enable all of that. We can, same way you were provisioning users, Cloud9 was provisioning users in seconds, and sort of driving this flexibility. And I think it's great to hear the removal of the phones, because this plastic world doesn't need to be here. We're in a software world.
I remember in my prior role, like at KPMG, buying these sort of bricks that sat on desks. And I remember arguing with people like, why are we buying these bricks? We should be moving to a soft phone environment. These are assets that are costing us millions putting them out on all these desks so that it's just a depreciating asset.
Yep.
That's the only thing that's happening to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
So closing this out, Brad spoke at the beginning of the session about cycles and systems, and I happen to be a big fan of an evolutionary biology theory called punctuated equilibrium. And basically, it's specific to evolutionary biology, but it basically, rather than evolution being a straight line where the world evolves, it's actually a series of step functions. And those step function changes in the way a species exists and what they can do is predicated based on external factors. COVID has been an obvious example to me of how an external factor has predicated a step function change in the way the world works for Zoom, for Symphony, for Cloud9, for all of us. But I think, for me, where do you think, where are we in that step function in your view? Are we at the top? Are we still going up? Are we starting to flatten out? And where do you see that kind of the shape of that step function going forward?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's been a giant step over the last 22 minutes. Like we just went zoop.
Yeah, it made MiFID look like a little thing, and now.
yeah. So we need to remember that whilst sort of for us in the professional world, this has been great. There's many hundreds of millions of people where this has not been such a great experience for. So we just need to sort of maintain that in the back of our minds for sure, or perhaps even in the front of our minds. I think the future is super exciting. I really do. It's like, when I think about sort of artificial intelligence, or as somebody told me last week, we shouldn't really call it artificial intelligence. We should call it augmented intelligence. I don't know if that'll stick, but I'm trying it out.
Okay.
So I'm trying it out and see what sort of feedback I get. And then there's augmented reality and virtual reality and machine learning, IoT. When I think about these capabilities and I think about these technologies and I think about how we're using them today, kind of like only scratching the surface on how we're using them. And so from a step function, I think we're going to see massive adoption of these technologies over the course of the next few, 2 to 3 years, which will, radically change how we work, how we play, how we socialize, how we connect with people. And I recognize where I am in my career. I wish I was like 20 years earlier in my career, quite honestly. So because I can have so much fun with this stuff.
Yeah, it's fun.
It really is. It's like, when I think about sort of the, going back to what I said a moment ago, it's like, in the Uber trying to schedule a flu shot. Why can't I just say schedule a flu shot?
Yeah.
Right? It knows everything about me. It knows who I am. It's like, it knows where I am. It knows where I live. It's like, it knows my calendar. It's like, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Well. Let's get there for our financial services market. Well, we're almost there. But Harry, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great chat with you, and I look forward to Zoom and Symphony continuing to work together.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and happy for the partnership, and whatever we can do to accelerate together, let's do it. It's like it's the notion of 1 + 1 is not 2, it's 3, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
More to
cool.
come.
All right, very good. There's a handshake.